What's up guys, Game Wisdom here and welcome back to the wise side of YouTube. About a month ago I uploaded a video talking about Deltarune's many secret bosses, and today I want to continue that discussion by trying to predict the secret bosses for the yet to be released chapters of Deltarune. So chapters 5, 6 and 7. Now we have a lot to talk about and chapters 5's release is getting closer by the day. So let's get right into it. When it comes to speculation about the Chapter 5 secret boss, there is one character that has been discussed more than any other. Friend. Image_friend is a very complicated character, to the point where I need to make an entire 2-hour long video just to explain him. But we don't have that much time, so I'll give you the simple version instead. Image friend is a very mysterious character, best appears small side, good person, but since the initial is much more important than any but he also appears in the catching the last expensive levels, and he appears in the bigger from other thing. The proxy also appears in the AC the play of the the general also appears in the same seconds, just like the catching the database from the web. Then it's also from the subscribe library. It appears so you can just like the going it seems to be related to the caster. And that is why friend is important to the game's lore. If you have any questions, just remember what I said in slow motion. So what does any of that have to do with Chapter 5's secret boss? You see, a very important part of Friend's design are his pink and yellow eyes. Now, pink and yellow is a very important color combination in the game, popping up quite often. But there is one appearance of pink and yellow that is very important for our purposes. A small line of dialogue spoken by Gerson during the Hammer of Justice boss fight. Chapter 5, the field of pink and gold, the vast garden is charred in an inferno of jealousy. Why is this line important? Well, during this fight, Gerson starts talking about his book, Lord of the Hammer, which parallels the events of the game, and this specific line is a teaser for Chapter 5. This line tells us a lot about the next chapters of Deltarune, but right now, we only care about the field of pink and gold part. Most of you can probably see where I'm going with this. Field of pink and gold, and friend has the pink and yellow motif, it all makes sense. And the fact that Chapter 5 will have the last Shadow Crystal, and that friend is an appropriately powerful entity to be holding a Shadow Crystal, and you got a pretty good theory on your hand. And to be honest, I like this theory quite a bit, but I don't think it's very likely to happen for a few reasons. First of all, friend is way too important to be a secret boss. It would be really weird for Toby to put in all this effort building friend up with a prophecy and Easter eggs and the Spawn sweepstakes, just to have him be an easily secret boss that most of the players will never encounter. In Chapter 5 of a 7-chapter game, it doesn't make sense. Personally, I think that if we added about Friend's role in the game, it would make much more sense for him to appear as a major antagonist in Chapter 7 and probably 6. So, if Friend isn't the Chapter 5 secret boss, then who is? Well, I have a theory that I haven't really seen brought up anywhere within the Deltarune community. What if the Chapter 5 secret boss is the Forgotten Man? The Forgotten Man is a very mysterious character. He appears in a very well hidden room in every chapter, gives you an egg and disappears without saying a single word. Except for Chapter 3, where he is surprisingly talkative. He tells a weird nonsensical story, and more importantly, if you answer all his questions correctly and get the chapter's egg, he gives you his schedule. It's mostly here to give players hints about the Forgotten Man's previous and upcoming locations, but what caught my attention is the fact that his schedule ends in Chapter 5. Meaning, Chapter 5 is going to be his last appearance. Probably. So, what if in his last appearance he doesn't give you an egg, but a Shadow Crystal? Also, it's worth mentioning that Chapter 5's Dark World is most likely going to take place in the Flower King shop, which would make it the first Dark World to be opened in a location where we can put the Eggman's egg, which could be important if the Forgotten Man is the secret boss. Finally, the Forgotten Man seems to be related to Chris's past somehow, so he would be a thematically relevant secret boss for Chapter 5, which we know will be focused on Asgore and his past, and will probably give us insight into Chris's past. This point also works in Friend's favor too, since he's also seemingly connected to Chris's past. The Forgotten Man is my personal favorite secret boss candidate for Chapter 5, but there is one more theory that I'd like to discuss. While the theory is a bit complicated and trying to fully explain it would risk derailing the video, so I'll just give you the simple version. Basically in Chapter 3 it said that Asgore's favorite TV show is a black and white cowboy show, and according to an unused quiz it was cancelled, but Asgore could still have tapes of this in his house. Therefore the Chapter 5 secret boss will be an old black and white cowboy, and also Woody from Toy Story because Toby Fox had posted the Toy Story theme like 8 years ago. Honestly, I don't think this will happen, but it would be really funny if it did. This is where things get interesting. We know for a fact Chapter 6 won't have a Shadow Crystal. So will it even have a secret boss? My answer is yes, and I have a pretty good idea about who it will be. Now this isn't a new theory, this idea has been floating around in my head since before Chapter 3 and 4 even released, but I think it still holds up. So what is this theory I'm talking about? Well, in my opinion, the secret boss of Chapter 3 will be Som. There are a lot of things pointing towards a Som boss fight, so let's talk about them. First of all, in Chapter 1, Som confirms that he is as strong or stronger than Zevil, meaning that he has the power level of a secret boss. We also know what his signature weapon is, the Som Reaper. It was originally revealed in an Undertale knitting kit or something like that, I don't remember, but recently it was included in his official Fangamer playset. Outside this admittedly weaker evidence, I think it makes sense for Som to be the Chapter 6 secret boss, from a story sense. We know that in Chapter 5 we will obtain the final Shadow Crystal, but I don't think that we'll be able to give it to Som until Chapter 6. Then Som will use the crystals to make something. We don't know what he will craft. A lot of people think it will be the Pure Crystal, a currently unobtainable item that will be used to craft the Twisted Sword. The only evidence supporting this theory is that if you hack the Pure Crystal into the game, its description says, "The shadow purified by the cat." I see where this theory is coming from, but I don't think it's true, because if this theory is true, then the shadow crystals will only be useful in an aborted Snowgrave run, since you need the Thorning to craft a Twisted Sword. To be fair, I'm like 91% sure we will have Noelle as a party member again in a future chapter, and will be able to obtain the Thorn Ring without having to abort the Snowgrave run. But even then, the Pure Crystal will only be usable in a Snowgrave run, which would make the Shadow Crystal quest worthless for most players. I am aware that Toby could add more crafting recipes with the Pure Crystal in future chapters, but then why did he add the Twisted Sword recipe in Chapter 2? It doesn't make any sense. So instead, I think Som will use the Shadow Crystal to make an armor of some kind. Maybe it could be the unused Sky Mantle armor that protects the user from holy and electric attacks, which could come into play in later chapters where we'll be fighting the Angel, holy attacks, and Gaster's device, electric attacks. Going back to my original point, I think Som will battle us to see if we are worthy of wielding whatever he crafts for us, making him Chapter 6's secret boss. Having Som as the final battle in the Shadow Crystal storyline would also be a great way to tie things up, starting this quest by fighting Zevil and ending it by fighting the person that locked Zevil up. But if the Shadow Crystal clone ends in Chapter 6, then what will be the secret boss of Chapter 7? This is where things get tough. We simply don't have enough information to theorize about Chapter 7, and honestly, I don't even know if Chapter 7 will have a secret boss at all. That being said, I have an idea. What if it's Gaster? I know, that sounds insane, and honestly, I don't have any evidence supporting this theory. It's just an educated guess, but it's the only theory that makes sense to me. I know I recently made a video talking about how I don't think Gaster will be important to Deltarune, but Gaster being a secret boss doesn't contradict what I said in that video, and I think having Gaster as the game's final secret boss, the final secret, for the most dedicated fans to find would be a very good way to finally end the mystery of Dr. W.D. Gaster. Outside of him, the only other idea I have is friend maybe, but I wouldn't bet any money on that. At this point, with the information we have, it's just way too hard to predict anything about Chapter 7. It's been very clearly proven by Chapters 3 and 4 that we just can't know what Toby Fox is planning, considering he could just put whatever he wants in the game to troll us. And honestly, at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if Chapter 7 didn't have a secret boss at all. But I do think that this Gaster theory is probably the most likely answer. But I guess we won't know for like another 10 years, I don't know. So those were my predictions about Deltarune's future secret bosses. Honestly, I think most of them were pretty good, especially my little Chom theory. That has been something I wanted to talk about for a very long time, and I'm happy, very happy, I finally put that in a video. Now, will any of these theories be correct? I don't know, maybe. I guess we won't have to wait too long to find out if my Chapter 5 theory was correct, since I wouldn't be surprised if that came out within the next 3 or 4 months. And outside of that, my next video will definitely be a Chapter 5 plot prediction, since I'm running out of time. And yeah, what do you think will be the secret bosses for the next chapters of the game? Could they be any of the ones I mentioned in this video? Do you think I was right? Or do you think there was a very obvious secret boss candidate that I missed? Tell me in the comments below. And also subscribe to the channel for more Deltarune videos, and make sure to be there when Chapter 5 comes out, because I will be covering that and making theories, and you won't have to wait too long about that, because something tells me that Chapter 5 is fast approaching. But for now, I'm Game Wisdom, this was the Wise Side, and I'll see you in the next one.